Welcome back to the Verbal Reasoning podcast. We know it's been a while, but we're back with a banger and we've got a lot to cover today. So, sorry about the delay, but we're back and ready. And here we go, I guess. Since our last episode, we were talking about Andrew Tate, the kind of big celebrity that he is, why has he risen to ascendancy so quickly, whether he's a valid businessman or whether his credentials are actually what they're worth, or should we really just disregard him as a flash in the pan that will eventually end? And also, was he toxic, which we had a great conversation about. And feel free to go back to that episode to recap. But in this episode, there's been some updates, Erin, on Tate's life. So it's very interesting, actually. So I believe he's been banned now, and in a sense of pretty much every social media outlet has completely banned him, which is very interesting. I don't know, it seems like it's a coordinated attack in a sense, for them to ban him at the same time as well. So I don't know, I want to get your initial thoughts. What do you think about that? Like, do you think it was coming?
I think when you have a polarizing figure nowadays, everyone views being cancelled, so to speak, on social media or whatever as the highest punishment you can get. So I guess ultimately this was the direction it was heading in. But I do find it funny that they're kind of giving him the Donald Trump treatment.
Yeah.
He just like we said in the last episode, as much vim as people have for this guy is how much power they give him. And by, I think, blocking him on all of these things, I don't know if it'll be a temporary ban or a permanent one, but all that's really happening is a lot of his stuff that was getting pushed on social media wasn't directly from any of his channels anyway. It was from his supporters. So they would upload clips of him. So I think all that's going to happen now is they're just going to double down and upload even more clips of him. All he has to do is put those clips out there on the internet, which I think he's doing through something called Rumble, which I hadn't heard of before. But, him switching over there is, I'm sure, going to give Rumble a lot of traffic as well. So let's see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's exactly what you said. Like, you can't just do this and then expect nothing to happen. But you're basically giving him more ammo. And the kind of supporters, vehement supporters that you have are quite dedicated. And like you said, a lot of the promotion wasn't him himself. It was his supporters basically promoting his stuff. And in a sense, actually, you validate their points. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was always against the establishment in a way, and by
they
doing
made him a martyr.
Yeah, they made him a martyr. So now they're gassed, and we're gonna see even more publications on him, and probably even more, and bringing attention more to him. So it's always jokes when they try to like cancel or like, do you know what I mean? When they have a desired effect in their head. They, as in like whoever is against said person, and then they just do like the exact thing which will actually put fuel on the fire, which is, I think, going to be the case. Because to be honest, I thought he was dying off anyway, like towards the latter part of this whole.
He was becoming more of a caricature, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But now that they've added him, they gave him basically a reason to exist and a value. He's just going to keep on cropping up. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think basically, I had never heard of this woman before, right? But her name is Drew Afuelo or something like that. Afuelo. I'm not sure who she is, but I'd literally never seen this person before. But then now that this has happened, I constantly hear about, what about her? She's the female version of Andrew Tate, and nothing's happened to her. So it's kind of now pushing this kind of man vs woman agenda even further now.
Right.
So now what we're getting is everyone is saying, well, okay, if you're going to cancel Andrew Tate, well, we're going to use the word cancel. I don't really like that word, but okay, if you're going to cancel Andrew Tate, then what about? And then they're listing different people. And I think this Drew lady seems to be on top of the hit list for some reason. Like I said, I have no clue who she is. I've never watched a single video of hers. She's never even popped up on my FYP before this. So I don't really know who she is. But what kind of like what happened with Donald Trump is happening here, where if you ban someone because of them saying X, Y, Z, then there's always going to be other people who say, well, what about this person? And what about that person? And it just sets off this chain reaction of events where now everyone is being, called up to the, jury box or whatever. Everyone's being called up to the guillotine, and who's going to go and who isn't now needs to be decided.
It's kind of like lynch mob style, where like it's basically people gathering momentum to just cancel someone completely without really a due. I guess you can't really do
there's no
a
due
valid
diligence
assessment.
for this. Do you know what I mean?
You can't really
he
do
gives
it.
his opinions. If he's popular because of those opinions, then
But then, like,
do you shut him down because you deem them as wrong? Who deems it as right?
Why is it so quick to shut him down? But Katie Hopkins has been saying some mad stuff. Like the maddest, really, honestly, like if you deep it, compared to what he's been saying.
I think she is blocked as well. Like she has been banned on everything, but it took, as you said, like 10, 15 years for them to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how they get their yardstick. Is it because he has a lot of traction? Maybe he was like a top 3 trending person on Twitter or whatever platforms he was on. But it's quite interesting. I don't think that technique works, because you can see, like, as what we saw with Trump and now him, they just end up going to other platforms. And when you do that, they drag their fan base with them, and their fan base are already extreme. Now, if you take these extreme people and put them by themselves, do you know what I mean, in their own little bubble, it just gets even worse. So
yeah, and I mean, even with like Trump as well. Again, their fan bases are the ones who disseminate their videos and disseminate whatever it is that they're saying. So realistically, banning them on your app doesn't necessarily do anything unless you introduce, like, how you can mute words on Twitter. Like unless you introduce something where you like literally mute videos that have a resemblance to Andrew Tate. So any bald man can't have a TikTok anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless you do that, how would you be able to completely wipe off that content? So like you said, they're just going to jump onto a different platform. And ultimately, I don't agree really with that type of, let's just ban him off completely. If he is developing this massive following, you kind of need to look at why that's happening, and question that, rather than almost make this guy into like a deity of, oh, he's trying to bring back masculinity and now they're trying to stop him from doing that. You know what I mean? It's just like, shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? But it's if you just block him on everything, then it like you said, it gives a bit of validity, to his words or whatever.
Do you think we're going to be seeing more of this kind of actions on social media, especially like since society is quite polarized as well on all different topics? Do you think
we already are, though? We already are. I mean, there's already like 10 different regions of Andrew Tate that's popped up. Sneeko is probably the most famous one that's come after him. But then there's also like this British guy. Whenever I'm scrolling, I sometimes come across his videos where people are taking piss out of him, to be fair, but it's like he's literally just copying the exact same, blueprint that Andrew Tate put out. And all of them are promising a return to masculinity, which is like, intrinsically linked with, okay, how do we subjugate women and therefore become masculine ourselves? Which is just from his playbook, isn't it? So, and it's all about, money. How can you make the most money? How can you, never sleep, always be awake, grind for it? That sort of rhetoric, which is really popular with especially like teenage boys, I think. And to be fair, some middle-aged men as well. But
I think it is attractive because obviously, like, it's not easy. It's not hard to see why it's attractive. Like having more money is attractive. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
it's a weird kind of self-help.
But it is. I mean, I think there's a limit to it, because I do agree. Like working hard is a good trait to have. Do you know what I mean?
This is why I said the Alex Jones effect of Andrew Tate. Like, yes, I agree that a person should work hard, but also selling into this idea that your value is directly linked to how much money you can make. Is not really a good message to pass on to young boys who,
I agree, yeah.
We know that, for example, in London, not that I'm saying Andrew Tate is the cause of knife violence in the UK, but the point I'm trying to put forward is that we know a lot of young people are already quite materialistic. They want to show off their wealth and whatever, just like the rappers are. And if you keep telling them that, no, you're only valuable if you have money or if you have, goods, what's going to happen to these young men who obviously don't have the means to make that money? They're going to get desperate because they believe that their value is linked directly to having these materialistic goods. So yeah, I agree with self-help. Definitely is a thing that, working hard and going to the gym, make sure you're physically fit, making sure, you're successful at your endeavors. Of course, it's a good
be the
thing
best
to
that
do.
you can be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, that
exactly.
kind of
No one's saying that that's something you shouldn't do anyway, but it's the way the message is being conveyed that's a bit worrying.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But it's interesting, and he's kind of a good case study. I mean, they usually these people come up because they're just a reflection of society anyway. Like, it's not him that exists; it already exists in society. It's just he's become popular because he fit into the mold of that societal figure. So it's interesting to see this and kind of
I mean,
is a
these guys come
reflection.
every generation, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
as social media grows, their fame is going to grow as well. Because before, if you remember, there was like the Hodge twins. Jordan Peterson, I guess, would be considered like the one gen before this. And then Ben Shapiro as well. He's part of that little group where it's kind of like, oh, I'm a masculine man's man. And, here's what you need to do to be successful. Like these self-help guys that preach stuff um, over social media have always existed. I think Andrew Tate probably is so far the most successful one in terms of like his reach.
Yeah, I agree, but I wouldn't compare him to Jordan Peterson. I think that's
I
quite
think
sad.
Jordan Peterson was a bit of a mad one to throw in there, but like the point I was trying to make was there's always like a guy who preaches stuff that is made into like this godlike figure on social media for maybe a year or two, and then there'll be the next guy that comes up. And currently we're in the Andrew Tate era. Who will be next, God knows, but I'm sure there'll be many more that come just like him.
It's going to be interesting. I look forward to seeing it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it is interesting because he started doing PR almost immediately, where he was like, "Well, actually, I never wanted to say it, but I've opened up these charities. I've helped street animals and this and that. I'm a good person. This Andrew Tate character is a character. I exaggerate things, and I did always say I did think that he does obviously exaggerate things, but nonetheless, it was very interesting to see his PR." And then he went on to, like I said, I've forgotten the name, Rumble, I think is the name of the platform. And he called out KSI.
Oh, for a fight, yeah.
Which is a very interesting little segue that I was trying to do there. And so he called out KSI because KSI came out and was like, oh, I'm glad that Andrew Tate got banned. And he basically said, well, you've said things that are 100 times worse than me. You have no backbone, and you're only saying this now so that you yourself don't get cancelled, which I actually agree with, by the way, because KSI was doing a madness. So I don't really think he can come out and play the
hero.
Play the hero at this point. That being said, he was younger when he said those things, KSI, to be fair, and he made those videos, but whatever, that's beyond the point. Anyway, he said, I'll fuck you up, I'll fuck up the Paul brothers, because Logan Paul and Jake Paul were also shitting on Andrew Tate. First of all, I just want to say that I think everyone involved in that, they're all a bunch of jackals, and they're all just saying what they think they need to say to keep their relevance.
I think it's like boxing, isn't it? It's just to build a fight. They don't care, man.
Yeah, they don't believe in none of this stuff. They don't give a shit.
Man.
It's just to build up hype.
Exactly, it's to build up hype so that people watch the fight if they do fight. So
watch their fight or even their content, really. I mean, by KSI calling out Andrew Tate calling out KSI, it just increases their traffic, increases their fan base's interest towards their channels. So it is what it is. But to get into the whole boxing stuff, obviously this past weekend we were in Cornwall, and while we were there, we watched the KSI boxing event. So let's discuss that a little bit, and then we'll talk about this Andrew Tate thing and how that plays into it a little bit. So what did you think, just overall?
You know what? From watching it, the production was really good, and I can understand why people go to watch it, like physically go. And I've been watching like people like describing the experience, and it's not a sporting event. It's really like WWE in a sense, where it's kind of like in between the fights, they're actually having a party in this crowds, really. they provide a lot of stuff. There's a lot of entertaining resources, a lot of jokes. They're not waiting for the next fight, as in boxing. So I understand why people would go. But in terms of the show itself, so we watched it on the TV. When I say I watched the level, I've never seen such low level matchmaking in my life. And it's to
It's
the point,
horrific.
for me, it's to the point where it's kind of sickening, especially when it was that last fight with that Mexican kid, the kid from Mexico that they put in. He was clearly just, honestly, Aaron, he was like a kid from a gym that he joined like maybe a couple years ago and doesn't take seriously. Do you know what I mean? And they just
Yeah, he just
threw
seemed
him.
in over his head. It was ridiculous.
They threw him in in the lion's den. And honestly, this is like, for me, it's crazy. It's like throwing in a 12-year-old to like fight a year 11. Do you know what I mean? And saying that it's a fair fight. It should be banned. And if it was the British Border Control that did this, that sanctioned it, they wouldn't sanction it. That's the thing. This is why they didn't sanction it. They're able to still hold boxing events because they can ensure it. But actually, it's not sanctioned by the British Border Control, which is the boxing framework in England. Even when, actually, you know what's even funny? Even when, if you remember, what was that Man United footballer, Ferdinand? When he retired, he tried to get into boxing. And there was a long investigation on whether they should allow Rio Ferdinand into boxing professionally. And in the end, the British Border Control banned him. Now, this was Ferdinand, at the end of his career. Be it he was old, he was definitely still an athlete. Do you know what I mean? He was
Oh
definitely
yeah,
more
he was in fantastic shape.
fantastic shape. He was way more capable than KSI. And they decided to say, no, that's too dangerous. So this is really
I mean,
more of a
money
circus
talks, though.
act.
This is the thing.
Money talks, in it, but
Money
like,
talks, man.
I don't know, man. I feel like it kind of makes me sicken. It really sickened me when I saw the last kid. Like Swarmz, I get it. To be honest, he probably threw himself into like just gain, promo, and like he wasn't ready. 2 weeks is not a camp. The guy had been training for like 4 months, and he got a notice 2 weeks ago. I'm sure he wasn't training before that because he's a singer. And then what? He just goes in to basically do the, the shmoney dance and fall over. Like, okay, that's one thing. Obviously, he's a singer, so he wants publication. But the other kid, the last one, you can tell was just plucked from nowhere. And at the end of the day, it's not tennis. They're not playing tennis. They're fighting each other. Do you know what I mean? Like this kid could have got seriously hurt. So
You know what? I want to make a point here, though. Actually, I think KSI is a despicable boxer, first of all. And the reason why I say that is because every single punch he was throwing, the way he throws it, it hits the back of the opponent's head. So, yes, the kid was complaining a lot, but if you actually go back and watch it, it was all back of the head. I mean, realistically, they should have disqualified KSI after a point because every single punch that he was throwing was actually hitting this kid in the back of the head.
But Aaron, that's the thing. It's all fixed. It's not sanctioned by the boxing body.
This is
So
what
they
I'm saying, though.
decide
That, like,
everything.
that's
The production
insane.
company decides everything. Of course, they're not going to give him warnings or disqualify him. It's
Yeah,
not a real fight.
it's insane to me, though. How can that
Yeah.
possibly, like, how could anyone possibly allow that to happen? I mean, it's just, I didn't understand. Because, and here's another thing, like KSI coming out and trying to hype it up, like, yeah, I'm unstoppable. When they feel my hand, they will, yeah, when they feel your hand in the back of their head, they're obviously gonna, do you know what I mean? They're not gonna want to continue to fight. So I did feel bad for the Mexican kid. And listen, he might have actually been genuinely a professional boxer who just crumbled under the pressure, but that was ridiculous. I think if you paid to watch that, then you'd feel very hard done. I wasn't impressed at all by either one of KSI's fights because, as you said with Swarmz, he was called last minute. He's not a boxer. He, clearly didn't really. I mean, he had 2 weeks notice. How much could he have possibly trained? He came in. He thought, cool, this will do well for me in terms of promo. Took his money, went home.
I heard, according to some sources in boxing, my inside sources. I heard he got a lot, like an insane amount of money for that fight, actually, which would make sense. Like when
Absolutely.
I say insane,
he's tanked
like,
his career.
He's tanked his career, but I think this was like a cash out that he could not miss out on. And to be fair, you know what? You're a grown man, and like whatever, it's 3 rounds. Do you know what I mean? Like you chose your destiny. But
realistically, he done better than the guy who they build as the professional boxer. So really,
he wasn't, man. He wasn't. The guy was professional, but like by name. Do you know what I mean? He didn't really fight anyone notable. He's just a local professional boy
You're saying they went down to the local pub and picked up whoever was there, yeah?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, for example, a fair fight, I'd say, for KSI now would be to go fight Tommy Fury. Do that. Because
Yeah, if you're bad, go do that. I mean, that's the good middle step between complete amateur and actual pro boxer.
they're both pros at that point. Look, the KSI has had enough fights. I'm sure he boxed pro men in during his camps. Do you know what I mean? He's been doing boxing for like 4 or 5 years now, which is the same amount of time that Tommy Fury has been doing boxing. It's a good match make. Like it will be a fair fight, and when it's a fair fight, it's a safe fight. Do you know what I mean?
So
You're
you know
not
what?
gonna clatter someone. But
So
yeah.
this is one of the topics that I actually agree with Andrew Tate on. So when he was discussing Jake Paul, he said that Jake Paul is smart because Jake Paul, markets himself as I'm just a YouTuber with some boxing gloves and a dream. But the reality is, he's a young man who's had 5 to 6 years of consistent training in boxing with some of the best people within boxing because he can afford to hire them. The same thing is true for KSI. I mean, they can keep marketing themselves as we're YouTubers who are, part-time boxers. But the reality is you're putting in enough time and enough money into this boxing thing to say, well, we're just very shit boxers that are fighting people who aren't boxers in the ring. So
Exactly.
like you said, if you want to make this into a valid thing that I can actually respect me on a personal level, like you said, I would expect him to fight a Tommy Fury.
Go get it
I don't think
sanctioned.
Tommy Fury is a good boxer. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's horrible. I think there is something maybe there. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he can become like British champion or something. Maybe that's the highest level he can get to.
He's at the very start of his career. Like
Yeah, that's the thing. He's
he's
very
had one
start.
professional fight or two professional fights. It's
Exactly.
the
So he's at the
perfect
beginning
level.
of his career. Just
Yeah.
if they fight Tommy Fury, then I reckon they'll lose, first of all. But at least it will just put to bed this nonsense of KSI, I'll take on anyone. I want a piece of everyone. I want a piece of this. I want a piece of that. And then the guys he's calling out are also YouTubers and like.
But you know what it is, Aaron?
It's
But like,
bullshit.
why would you crash the gravy train? Like
This is what
people
I'm saying. It's just gross. It's disgusting. Stop
will still
studying
watch this.
boxing.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, they're clever and they leverage their position to make a lot of money. I respect that in terms of business. But like when I see the matchmake, for me, it's the matchmaking that makes me sick. But again, like I said, why would they crash this gravy train? People still watch this all over the world, not just all over. Like in the UK, it's huge. People still watch this, even though they're seeing this insane like mismatch because it's WWE. But here's a trick: it's not WWE because they're actually fighting. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of dangerous. Like it has the feel of WWE where it's kind of like fantastical, where you don't think it's real, but in reality, it's real. Like, do you know what I mean? They're actually in there swinging. He's trying to
Do,
knock that kid out by
do
swinging
you
for the back of the
remember
head.
that boxer, Richard Colon?
Colon.
Colon? Yeah, he was a very good up and coming boxer. He seemed like one of the, he could go on to be a big thing. And he had a boxing fight where he kept getting hit in the back of the head. And even the commentators were like, oh, he don't have that dog in him and all of that, basically. And eventually what ended up happening because of those blows, because the ref took his sweet time to stop the fight, was now he's permanently in a wheelchair and he's got severe brain damage. So, for all those people, like True Geordie, you're not a boxer either. Shut the fuck up. I don't know why he just flaps his lips constantly. You're not a boxer. You're not a fighting professional. And he kept talking about, oh, this kid's just running around, this and that. But the reality is, KSI keeps banging man in the back of the head. If he doesn't run around, he ends up in a wheelchair for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Who are you gonna like?
I mean, he was
exaggerating.
The kid was exaggerating a little bit.
Don't get me wrong, but he was also
scared.
getting banged in the back of the head, bro.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting banged in the back of the head. He was completely scared. So any move was a complaint, which, to be fair, I don't blame him because the ref was doing nothing. The ref wasn't warning him, didn't take away points. Why? Because it's not a sanctioned fight. It's not a real fight. It's a show, but it's a show where they control everything. But it's still a real fight. It's so messed up, actually. Really, it's so messed up. So, man, yeah, the True Geordie. I mean, you can tell the whole production. Like, I mean, the production was good, but in terms of the commentators, they were very, very pro. KSI saying, "Oh, that's far. He never touched the back of his head." When in their
he
own
was
replays,
clanging the back of his head, bruv.
In their own replays, they're showing how far he reached back. So that's, do you know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, what's funny is that Eubank Jr. was there.
That was
as well.
so far. I was just about to mention that.
Oh my days. He was there, and while they were interviewing him, you can tell he was very uncomfortable, like he was kind of sullying his own name by supporting this whole charade. So
I think he's signed to DAZN, right? I think you told me this.
to the zone,
The Zone. Why did I say DAZN? The Zone, yeah.
I don't think Chris Eubank is signed to the zone. No,
Is his next fight on there or something?
his next fight is on there because he's fighting.
Oh, is that why he was on there? Because I'm not understanding why he would sully not only his name but his father's name by even being involved in this shit.
It makes sense. If his next fight is to basically make a lot of money, why don't you grab the attention of the YouTube boxing fans? Because YouTube boxing fans don't necessarily watch boxing. Do you know what I mean? They watch KSI. And if you can grab like 10% of the people that watch KSI, you're going to make hella P.
Bro, the people that watch KSI's boxing, yeah, are making clips where they're saying who would win in a fight, prime Jake Paul or prime Mike Tyson. These people are 12 years old, okay? They're buying the fucking boxing thing with their dad's credit card. They don't understand boxing whatsoever. And you know what? I hear what you're saying as well with Chris Eubanks. I mean, yeah, he wants that demographic to be like, oh, this guy seems cool. Let me watch his fight. So he's there, but it's just you could tell from the way he was talking that he was just cringing inside very deeply.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the whole event was cringe. You know, like you said, look, respect. You're making your money, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna hate on that. You know, KSI started off as a small YouTuber, and now look at, you know, he's selling out whatever stadium that was in, but. You know, at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't like stuff like this. I find it very manipulative, very cringy.
I don't mind if it's competitively matched. For example, one of the undercards, I think it was Deji, so KSI's brother, fighting some guy, and that was competitive. That was really good. And when
that was actually, for me, that was the only fight that I really was like, you know what? This was a good fight, B, a good matchup, and you know, I actually enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Deji against FuziTube, and they had both previously lost all of their fights, but none of it was quote unquote professional fights. So this was Deji's first professional fight. Previously, he was always out of shape. He didn't really turn up to the fight. He gassed out quickly. I think he actually fought Jake Paul. I think he might have been Jake Paul's first opponent. And you know, I think everyone really wanted Deji to win. And to be fair, I wanted Deji to win as well. I felt bad for him. But Fuzi came in, and he again was somebody who was overweight, and he was all over the gaff, and he turned up to this fight shredded. So everyone just assumed that FuziTube would win. But then when you actually watch the fight, there were moments where Deji actually looked like a professional boxer. Like, he actually boxed very well. And like you said, it was a good matchup. I enjoyed that fight. Exactly. So that was the only fight I can say I genuinely enjoyed of that whole night.
I didn't watch the Salt Pappy one.
Okay. I lied. That was one of two fights that I really enjoyed. Salt Pappy can actually box as well. Salt Pappy can actually box, but again, I think the matchup of that one wasn't good because he literally knocked the guy out in 12 seconds. And I just think with Salt Pappy, because he's a comedic character, and he does that whole thing where he like licks his lips, and he never breaks character even in the ring. People don't take him that seriously because he's like, haha, he's funny, but he can actually box. Like, you got a little Manny Pacquiao in there somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So again, I think that was just a poorly matched up fight. The other guy just did not know. I mean, it was only 12 seconds. I don't really know if the guy did know what he was doing, but he got knocked the fuck out that quickly. So I would assume he didn't.
Yeah, that's pretty bad to get knocked out by Salt Pappy. Do you know what I mean?
Like, literally, while we were watching the fight, I think you and somebody else had gone out to check the barbecue, and by the time you came back, the fight was over. So, that one was it was entertaining, but it wasn't really a good matchup, to be honest. But yeah, I think the Deji one was the best fight.
I mean, if I had to summarize this whole thing, do I want to see YouTube boxing? Actually, yes, I do want to see YouTube boxing continue, but in a healthy way. I think it's opened up the doors to another like dimension of boxing, which we haven't seen before. And it's a genius move. Like, and in the future, maybe you can get on the undercard more like less known amateur boxers from actual boxing, you know what I mean? To kind of
it's
bring them
interesting
through
to see what they do with it though, because if they do that, then that's, to some degree, that's, the good outcome. But the way I see this developing is they're just going to repeatedly bring in the same clicky YouTube audience, like YouTube creators, and just be like, okay, now you fight him and now you fight him, and they're gonna, what I noticed also was everyone had a belt at that event and they all seemed to be roughly the same weight. So I'm like, what the hell was going on with this belt situation?
And
then
it's all
also,
catch weight, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but there was a fight between FaZe Temper and King Kenny from the Beta Squad, right? When I tell you that this was a massive robbery, and this is the second time it's happened in a King Kenny fight, where they gave the fight to King Kenny. In the last one, they gave it to King Kenny, but then they had to, it went through like the other side said it was unfairly pointed, and actually they removed the win from Kenny. I think that's going to happen with this fight as well. But again, what I see happening is like big YouTubers are going to try and go in and do this boxing thing. Even if they lose, the scores are always going to be in their favor. It's all going to be rigged, as you said, like a WWE event. And it's just, I don't know. I hope that they do what you said, which is they start to bring in more amateur boxers who maybe don't have a name for themselves and help these people develop their careers by giving them a platform and so on. But I don't think that they will do that. YouTubers are by definition quite narcissistic people who want the spotlight on themselves. And I don't see them sharing it like that.
But to be fair as well, like these YouTubers are like the top like 5% of YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like then they're not any old YouTube. Like they are very, very popular. And it's not easy to get to that level. So in a sense, I do think they deserve this, if that makes sense. Like they've just like kind of, it's like when a boxer or a fighter or sportsman goes into movie films. Like, yes, it's not what he was doing before. And yes, he's not as good as what he was doing before, but he still deserves it because he worked very hard to get up to that point, and now he's leveraging it.
Do you know what it is? I agree that they can do it for sure, and I'm not knocking them for making money, but it's like if Conor McGregor now, he's going to be acting, actually, weirdly enough that you mentioned that, he's going to go into acting and he's going to play in a movie that has Jake Gyllenhaal in it. Now, we don't know how big his character will be. It'll probably be like a couple lines or whatever. But if, let's say, Conor McGregor, goes into and plays in a couple movies, but he's just dreadful at acting, eventually he won't get the role. But the way this YouTube boxing thing is, as long as they keep it amongst themselves, they can just keep growing this constantly. So even if they're horrible boxers, they can make a name for themselves as boxers.
But are people watching it for boxing? I think people are watching it for entertainment. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are watching it like, oh, this is a good boxing match. They're going for like, oh, this is going to be fun to watch. I think the
younger generations are. This is the thing. I think the younger generations are looking at that and thinking that this is prime boxing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I see.
This is the kind of the issue. I mean, it's not really an issue, to be honest. I have nothing against them doing it. They can go ahead and do it. I don't know. I just don't think that it's something that's going to grow in a way which is going to benefit boxing as a whole. It will probably benefit the YouTubers who are doing it. But will it have a benefit or provide, anything good for boxing? Maybe it will get the younger generation interested in actual boxing. So that might be a benefit for it. But
I think we will get more kids like joining boxing gyms, and when more kids do that, like obviously the elite ones will get through, and we'll get better boxers. For example,
you might have a future world champion who says my idol growing up in boxing was KSI. You never know.
You know what? It's like Pacquiao. Pacquiao was the exact output of Thriller and Manila. When they went there, when Ali went there and did the fight, he's that generation that came, got into boxing because of that. Do you see what I mean? Like, and I'm telling you now, mark my words, and people remember this. There's going to be a Saudi boxer in the future, in like the next 10 to 15 years. There's going to be a Saudi boxer that's going to explode on the scene because they're investing heavily on this, and they're opening up hella clubs.
So we could actually talk about the Saudi boxer and then move on to the Usyk Joshua fight. But before we do that, so let's circle right back to the first topic we were talking about, Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate obviously said he would fuck up KSI. And as a response, at the end of the fight, KSI was said, Tommy Fury, Tommy Fury, and Bryce Hall, whatever, these other guys, and Andrew Tate, I want a piece of that. So how do you think that goes for KSI if he fights Andrew Tate?
Do you know what it is like? I don't know how ready Tate is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know he fought in the past, but it was kickboxing, which is very different to boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like, in boxing is a lot more balanced in a sense because you have a lot more to play with because you don't need to worry about kicking your feet. Whereas in kickboxing, you kind of do get a shorter stance, and it's like when you watch striking between MMA and boxing. They're two totally different sports, and it's the same with kickboxing. So there's already that, and then on top of that, it's been many years since he's fought. Do you know what I mean? Like competitively. Where KSI, I'm sure he's been fighting at a quite a good level in the gym. So I
Look,
think
the thing
KSI can
with,
take him, man.
do you know what?
I'm
Do you
gonna
know what's
say it.
funny? Anything can happen, of course.
Mm,
I would like to know a few things, right? First of all, like you said, is Andrew Tate going to turn up fit?
mm.
I have a fit because here's the thing: people downplay Andrew Tate's intelligence. I reckon he's already started training for the KSI fight.
Mm.
I reckon he started a year ago.
Yeah, he
Because
knew he would get into
even a
the YouTube
year ago,
boxing.
he was talking about potentially fighting Jake Paul.
Mm.
I reckon he's been training for this behind the scene because he trains anyway. He's not just completely, he hasn't done what was that British boxer that got super fat? Ricky Hatton.
Ricky
He
Hatton.
didn't do a Ricky Hatton. Do you know what I mean? When he retired, he continued to stay in shape.
But Aaron, there's one thing to be fit, and there's one thing to be boxing ready. Do you know what I mean?
No, because
Like in
he
terms of
spars a lot.
yeah, but
He
in what
spars a lot. Like
kickboxing or
he does camps with professional fighters, and he's repeated. He's stayed. That's what I mean. Like he's actually stayed somewhat within the realm of fighting, regardless of the fact that he's retired.
Mm.
So he's done that, but I would want to know like how ready he's actually going to be. Bear in mind he was an 87 fight winner, so he won 87 fights, and I think he lost like 2 throughout his career, and he did the MMA and kickboxing. I think he only had a couple MMA fights. But from what I've seen of his highlights and stuff, he actually was a decent fight. Like, okay, he wasn't in the best, he wasn't in the best divisions or whatever when he became the 4-time champ. But nonetheless, I mean, it's more than you can say for most YouTubers.
Yeah, but it's not boxing.
No, I know. But then what he seemed to be really good at was kicks.
Mm.
And obviously you can't kick in a boxing match. How much of his striking can he carry over into a boxing match, and how good can he be at that is the question there as well. So there's a lot of factors with Andrew Tate fighting KSI. Initially, I was like, I think Andrew Tate just demolishes him. But then, we really don't know. KSI has been boxing for a long time. He seems to be, match ready. But I think that's a massive risk from KSI. I think the money fight is between him and Jake Paul.
Mm.
I think Andrew Tate would garner him a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. Like, that will make a lot of money for you. But if you lose that, then I think Andrew Tate then goes on to fight Jake Paul, and then he makes twice as much money. And then you, KSI, your kind of hype dies down because, like I said, it's mostly children that are watching KSI. One fight will be, if you lose one fight, that's enough for them to turn their back on him.
But I actually think KSI has a big advantage on Andrew Tate. Like, when you practice one sport compared to another, it's a completely different thing. Boxing is so specific. Like, you can really tell a boxer just from watching them strike. Like, if you tell an MMA person not to throw kicks, but just to shadow box, and you ask a boxer to, you can see that, like, it's completely different sport. And I'm not saying it's useless to be an MMA fighter, but it's more specialized for MMA.
I mean, we've seen Tyrone Woodley get fucking knocked out by Jake Paul. So,
that's the point.
And Tyrone Woodley was a very feared UFC fighter.
Very good, and it's because he couldn't utilize all of his skills, of course, because it's boxing. Whereas in boxing, if you specialize for boxing, it gives you a huge advantage. And KSI has been doing it for a long time now, like a very long time.
Also, we're discussing this from KSI's point of view, but from Andrew Tate's point of view, if you lose to KSI, this I'm an alpha male stuff out the window. It's done. You're finished.
Do you think so? I don't think so.
100%, brother. You can't be getting beaten up by KSI and then go out there and be like, yeah, I'm a man. Like, there's no shame in it usually, but the kind of environment that he's created and the following that he's created is quite toxic in the sense of if he loses or if he gets emasculated, so to speak, by KSI, I don't think they'll follow him like that.
I don't know, man. I think they'll follow him anyway. because he's kind of more of a cult figurehead than anything. So
You're saying by hook or crook, they're gonna
by
follow my
hook
man.
or
Yeah?
crook, they're gonna follow him, bro. I'm telling you. Because to be fair, even just to get in the ring, like, let's just put it out there, like, not everyone can do that. Do you know what I mean? It takes heart for someone to do that. So, like, I think either way he'll be all right. But I do believe though KSI has a lot to lose. Like, if he loses, the big money fight won't be as big. But
Yeah,
it
that's
is
what I'm
a
saying.
very
I think
interesting.
the big money fight will go to Andrew Tate because he'll do that thing where I'm the reaper of YouTube boxing and this and that, and he'll just go after Jake Paul, and that'll be the fight to make.
I think KSI has a lot more to lose than Andrew Tate. Like, actually,
Oh, for
there's not
sure,
much
for
risk
sure.
for Andrew
Yeah.
Tate, in my opinion. So anyway, let's see if we'll see that. Maybe it will happen next year. I guess for the end of the year, it's too late. Or they could fit one in
And potentially
Christmas.
they could.
Yeah,
I mean, if he turns around and says, I'm ready to go now, then they could probably
exactly.
just do it for the end of the year.
Mm.
Okay, so
Yep,
talking
okay.
about the Saudi boxer, Saudi boxing, so to speak, we saw Usyk fight Joshua, or should I say, we saw Usyk beat up Joshua, and in one of the undercard fights, they had a Saudi fighter. And he seemed very decent, but I do have to say they've done an early stoppage for him.
That brother got robbed. I can't even lie. That brother got robbed.
That was an interesting fight, but it did really kind of bring to the forefront that the Saudis are investing a lot of money on boxing, as you said, and that's why they had the fight there. I think this is now the third or fourth fight that Joshua's had in
yeah, I think it's
Saudi.
second fight.
Or is it the second? Yeah, he fought Ruiz, right, in the rematch.
Ruiz, and then this
and now
one.
Usyk, yeah. So you're seeing that they're trying to pull more of these big fights to where they are. So how do you kind of envision that going in the next 10 years? Do you think we'll have a world champ?
I think so. I think they put a lot of money into it, and like I said, think of the impact Thriller in Manila had on Pacquiao, and how that really, if you listen to his interviews, it really birthed him, and he's one of the best to do it, man. Really, like Pacquiao's career is insane. Like I think he won a belt at literally like nearly every division below middleweight, which is insane. Like, that's such
I
a
think he
huge
holds
range
the
of weight.
record. Like, no one's. If you were to literally read out his introduction into a boxing ring, it will take you nearly 2 minutes.
It will take you 2 years, man. His achievement is crazy, and he was the product from the back of Thriller in Manila, and they didn't invest like that. Do you know what I mean? Ali had one fight, but it was a very famous fight. And now with Saudis, like, for them to invest in the clubs, the infrastructure, but on top of that, have the big fights to inspire the youth, I think they're going to get a lot of uptake of people taking the sport. And as a result, when it comes down to, these kids that are now like 12, once they become adults in the sense of 18, 19, 20, in the next 5 to 6 years, we're going to see, good level Olympic competitors. And as a result, also professional fighters, I think. So I think it's a good move, though. Me personally, I think martial arts is good for young people. It inspires confidence, kind of removes fear as well from people. And in a way where you also respect other people as well, because when you go in the ring, you're going to get hurt as well. So there's the mutual respect, and I think it's going to do good for their society.
Do you think they'll rob a championship though? That's my question.
Rob a championship, of course.
I think they are, man. I can't even lie to you. That match, the thing is, their fighter was winning anyway, but they just wanted to secure that shit real quick.
But I'll be honest,
their fighter was winning. Like, he was landing most of the combinations.
100%. He was going to be a better fighter. Yeah,
he was. But the fact that they still robbed the other guy of a full fight by just doing an early stoppage for no reason, goes to show that they're just trying to secure a.
But I think if they are ever going to build a champion, like, because they're so behind, the champion will have to go to America or the UK to win. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they can buy it outright. So
I don't know, man. Their money is long.
Their money is long, but at the end of the day, it's
long, Steve. It's very long.
But can you imagine
the length and girth of their money is long, brother?
It's long, brother. But can you imagine if AJ lost the way the Saudi opponent lost? Like, he would never be respected as a champion. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So
it don't matter, man. They just want that gold around their waist, and that's it.
I don't think so. I think they want legacy. They do want legacy.
That, as you said, is a good thing. Just because that's kind of the way you want to grow boxing, in my opinion. In terms of, you want these big nations, national efforts to be involved where you're, putting money into boxing gyms and to, boxing infrastructure in a whole country. Because, it's never a bad thing if more kids decide to join boxing gyms. It's just going to increase your national health as well, if I'm being honest with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I don't think it's necessarily, it's not a bad thing, I don't think. And like I said, I do assume that there will probably be one, but will it be because of like a boxing champion that's out of Saudi? But will it be because they're actually very good, or is there going to be a bit of hokey pokey going on? I don't know. But probably in the next 10 years, there probably will be a Saudi champion. So that's something to keep an eye out on. But without much further ado, Usyk vs Joshua. What went wrong?
What went wrong? I think AJ improved a lot. Like watching the fight, I watched the fight back a couple of times, and he was boxing very well. In previous fights, he never had lateral movement. He couldn't move his body left and right. He was kind of very stand upright, only backwards and forwards kind of guy. And in this fight, you could see that he was, bobbing and weaving. He was slipping a lot of punches and counter punching as well. He was keeping it quite basic as well. But I like that. You know what I mean? A jab, right hand, bang. He gets him. He did gas out later on, but this is expected. But we know AJ struggles a little bit when it comes to the later rounds, and especially against someone like Usyk. Like, let's not underestimate how quick Usyk is. And do you know what I mean? Like, he slips punches. The margin of error for Usyk to slip punches, it's like a half a degree. He slips a punch, but just enough so he doesn't waste energy. Do you know what I mean?
Should I tell you something about what I would have done if I was Anthony Joshua? See, me personally, I would have gone to my local mosque, asked for a copy of the Quran, and prayed, because there's no chance in hell I'm being Usyk. You see Usyk, yeah? The spit, he's irritating to watch.
Yeah.
He's so good, it's irritating. Like you said, bruv, by the time Anthony Joshua threw a right hook, Usyk's already... It's like watching, Dragon Ball Z, where they do like instant teleportation.
Yeah,
the guy,
exactly,
he ends up behind the guy. It's like AJ throws one punch. By the time his punch has even moved through the air, Usyk has already dodged it twice and landed a free piece.
It's crazy.
What can you do against the guy? You know what? It's so sad to admit this, because I've always been a big fan of Anthony Joshua. I've always felt like he's done boxing the right way, in terms of whenever they've given him an opponent, he's gone, okay, I'll fight them. He fought everyone he could, and he's been disrespected beyond belief. They're disrespect. This guy's a national treasure. I can't believe some of the commentary that's coming out of this. That being said, I mean, the gulf in talent between him and Usyk is insane. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's crazy.
I just feel like the only pro that Joshua has over Usyk is the size advantage and the physicality, but even then, like you said, Joshua tends to gas out. Usyk can go 12 rounds.
But I think Joshua wouldn't have gassed out if it was any other opponent. I think he's removed that from his game. But because Usyk, like you said, it's so frustrating.
That's the levels.
It's levels. Like, I think if AJ fought Fury, he wouldn't gas out. Let me put it that way. Honestly, I don't think he'd gas out.
The gulf between AJ and Fury is much smaller than the gulf between AJ and Usyk. Take 100%. That as what you want. Do you know what I mean? Take that as what you want. If you want to take that as me saying Usyk's the better fighter when compared to Fury, do you know what I mean?
I think so, but I'm gonna say it. I think actually Usyk will beat Fury. Bro, I think he's small. Fury relies on his awkwardness in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's strong, but he's also awkward. But he can only apply that because he's the faster man. Against Wilder, he's faster. Against a lot of his opponents, he's faster. But when he gets smaller heavyweights that are faster than him, he can't apply that awkwardness. And then the script is flipped. Do you know what I mean?
Also, it's hilarious to me, the commentary coming out of Tyson Fury.
Oh, my days.
Don't you ever disrespect Anthony Joshua like that again. This is a guy who fought literally everyone that they put in front of him. You bum. Let me know. Okay, you know what? Let me not call Tyson Fury a bum. I do like Tyson Fury, actually.
He's not a bum, but I get what you mean. Yeah.
But he's very annoying with stuff like this, because you don't have the hit list that Anthony Joshua has, in my opinion. You really don't.
Yeah, Anthony Joshua has had 21 professional fights. I think Fury is double that. If you look at Fury's first 21 professional fights, Anthony Joshua like
Wipes
shits
the
on him.
floor with
Yeah.
him. Are you serious? Anthony Joshua won 4 belts, was trying to unify it, and then both Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder ducked him for so long that Usyk came out of the shadows, and now he's just completely thrown a spanner in the works. The reality is, if both Wilder and Fury weren't ducking AJ, we would have already had the unified champion.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. You're cowards. You've refused to fight this man, and now you're chatting the most shit when he's down. I'm sorry, I'm not having it personally. If you think you're so much better than AJ, why didn't you fight him the past 2-3 years?
Exactly. When you had the chances.
You
But
had the chance time and time again, and you ran from it. So now don't come out and give it the big one just because he's lost.
But he's smart now, because now, like, let's say he did fight AJ then, and Fury lost, let's say. Like, AJ could then lose against Usyk, but still, Fury lost against AJ. But I think he did something clever where he knew AJ was eventually going to lose. The longer he kept it waiting, he knows AJ takes the hardest fights, and he knew, like, you can't keep that up. If Fury had a career like that, he'd also lose. I'm telling you right now. But he's very clever with how he directs his career.
AJ is an idiot.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Stat pad.
That's
you know
what I'm saying.
Beat these plumbers from Wickham.
Mm.
I mean, go up to Sheffield and fight the local pub man.
Seferi or whatever Fury.
Yeah,
It was like
do you know what I mean?
Fury fought.
These guys that Tyson Fury fought, like Savannah Svezda or whatever, like, do you know what I mean? These random brothers that you have no idea who they are.
Uber drivers, bro.
Yeah, they got these records of combined like losses of 500 and wins of 2. Do you know what I mean? Like, fight those guys. Why are you always going for whoever you should be going for? Why are you playing the game clean? Be dirty with it.
Do you know what? I compare AJ's career to Lennox Lewis, because Lennox Lewis, before the I think it's Oliver McCall that knocked him out. Prior to that, he was basically AJ. He was like defeating everyone, but he didn't get any learning fights. He was basically firefighting. Like, the Povetkin fight was very hard for AJ. If you remember that fight.
He broke his nose.
Yeah, he broke his nose. And, at that point, they should have taken a couple fights to learn, to teach AJ. But AJ went in again against, was it Klitschko or... Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, he keeps going in and in.
Takam, Klitschko, Povetkin, White.
One after another.
It's ridiculous. Why would you even do that? And then Ruiz, not a lot of people knew about him. And granted, I didn't know about him either, but Ruiz is a good fighter.
He almost beat Joseph Parker to win the belt.
Do you know what I mean? Look, again, Joseph Parker, another fighter that AJ fought.
Yeah.
Like, look at his list goes on and on. He's fought legit guys.
But you know what it is, Aaron? I'll tell you what it is. Like,
Tommy Fury, blood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think he still has a chance to come back, as in, like, he has a second phase of his career.
Brother, it's not over.
He can go right now and take his time. He can learn a new craft, like really teach himself how to box. Do you know what I mean? Because before that, he was just firefighting. It was like a school fight. Remember back in school days, you got into beef with someone, you didn't know how to fight. You were just swinging, grabbing, but you were just doing your best. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that was
he's definitely fine-tuned his boxing now later on in his career.
But he has
as you said, now's the time.
I think he has a lot to grow on. He has a lot to... This is not the ultimate AJ. I think he has a lot to learn still. Whether that's enough to beat Usyk or Fury, I don't know. I don't know.
Like I said, go home, take out your Quran, pray. You ain't got a chance in hell. I tell you right now. He ain't beating Usyk. He ain't beating Usyk if Usyk had one arm tied behind his back. The gulf is too big. But what he should do, in my opinion, make yourself a little hit list, yeah? Wilder. Go for him. White 3, sorry, yeah. White 3, go for him. You know what I mean? Make a list, Ruiz 3, go for that. In between those fights, cherry pick your opponents, try out new things in the ring, make sure you've perfected this new style, and just go for these man one after the other. Make the money fights. Make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't worry about, let me fight the guy. No. Make the money fight. Fuck it. I'm sure Derek Chisora will give you a fight if you ask for it. Derek Chisora is willing to fight anyone at this point.
That guy's crazy. Yeah, he'll fight anyone.
He'll fight anyone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's not okay. So just go for Derek Chisora. Give him another round of CTE. Do you know what I mean? He seems like he wants it. Fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Like, AJ, he done the clean cut good guy thing for too long. Be the bad guy for once.
That's it. You know what it is? It's a new phase of his career. It's part 2. Like I said, Lennox Lewis had 2 phases. He got defeated by Oliver McCall, and then he disappeared into Big Bear. You know that mountainous place where they box? Yeah. Disappeared. They didn't see him for like a year and a half. Then he came back. He was just fighting tomato cans, like complete nobodies. But you could see he was a completely different fighter. Do you know what I mean? And then the rest was history. Then he defeated everyone, like everyone under the sun, Tyson and blah, blah, blah. They became a legend. Like, this is what AJ needs to do now. Go away, disappear. Bruv, learn your craft. We just saw you for the first time do lateral movement. Can you imagine? Like, all this time, he never had that.
Bro,
Finally,
look at the
he's
belts
learned
that you've won and you've only just done that. Like, come on.
Come on, bro. So go away, learn your craft, like practice it against nobodies, get these nobody fights in between, and like you said, have a hit list. Go for, I say White is for Chisora first, then White, because I think White is near the end of his career, and then go Ruiz and Wilder.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
it. Do
I
that.
think that's the way he should go about it.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, let's see.
why is everyone else going the easy route, making money and then being lauded by their weird cultish fans when he's constantly getting disrespected? And for what? He's brought you the best fight. Listen, AJ is the reason why heavyweight boxing didn't completely sink, because there was a time where the Klitschko was the champion, and I swear to God, if you said to me, watch boxing or I'm going to shoot you in the head, I would have said, you know what, maybe my time has come. I don't want to watch it anymore. Like, it was ridiculous. It was so boring. It was so boring. The heavyweight division,
hit and grab. It
Bro,
was so
it was
boring.
So boring. And then you saw AJ come through, and he's revitalized an entire division. And the amount of disrespect that he gets, regardless, is just insane to me. How can you disrespect someone who's done that? And he's British as well. I'm telling you, if AJ, look, I don't want to make everything about race, but if AJ was 100%. Right, 100%, they would have been erecting statues of this guy.
Bro, let me say something right now. Remember when he threw the belt out of the thing and they were like, the narrative is he's disrespectful. Bruv, when Fury was saying the wildest stuff on TV, when I say wild, like, he was saying some shit, bruv. Nobody said nothing. Do you know what I mean? There's a double standard, man, in our society.
Bro,
I'll be honest.
Tyson Fury gets done for drugs, when Tyson Fury comes out and talks about, these bloody immigrants, get them out. No one calls him out for his bigotry. No one calls him out for his lack of professionalism. They just call him, a Jack the Lad. But when Anthony Joshua, who has been getting fucked over by all these boxing commissions, and he's just been beaten to a pulp, maybe a little bit of CPE came into play there, and he throws the belts out of the ring, because he had a whole meltdown at the end of that fight.
Yeah, the meltdown. He said, I had enough of this pressure. He threw the belts out, and now he's a disgrace. The belts out.
Now he's a disgrace. Do you know what I mean? Come on, man.
Yeah,
this guy is a national treasure. That is a national treasure, and this is how you're treating him. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man. When Mike Tyson, you know that clip of Mike Tyson when they ask him, what do the belts mean to you? He's like, you see this? This is nothing. This is shit. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legend to do that. Or when what's his name? I think Rahman.
Yeah.
When he threw away the belts as well, he's a legend for that. But for AJ, he's
there's
menace.
multiple factors. These old boxers, they hate him. He's young, he's good looking, he's successful. They didn't reach the heights that he reached. They didn't get the fan base that he did. Bare haters. The fact that he's black definitely plays a role in this. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm not, never in a million. If his name was like Billy Bob or some shit like that, you know what I mean? 100%.
You know what's funny?
They would have made a front page.
You see online, when he's losing and stuff, they stop calling him AJ. They call him Femi. Bro, tell me this ain't racism. I beg you, tell me this ain't racism.
Race plays a massive part in this. I'm so sorry. They see Tyson Fury as more British than they see Anthony Joshua. Bro, how is that fair?
Yeah. But Anthony
Joshua never went online and made a racist tirade about these fucking immigrants and this and that, like Tyson Fury did. He never got caught for doing
Ukrainian bosses and stuff. You know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's never done anything like that. So where's all this vitriol towards him coming? I don't understand.
Yeah. It's a double standard, but we all know what it is, isn't it? So let's keep.
Don't get twisted. I love Usyk as well, though. I love it. If it's not AJ, I want it to be Usyk. I don't want Tyson Fury to win it. Not that I super dislike Tyson Fury, but I see the double standard there, and I see the way he manipulates situations to make himself seem like a good guy, but he's not really, and that's made me kind of fall out of love with Tyson Fury.
Exactly. I used to like him a lot, but he's very good at manipulating the society. So, boy, I don't know. I might have
Bear in mind, look, he said that he was going to give all of his money from, I think, one of the Wilder fights to charity. That hasn't happened. He said that he was going to retire, and now he's saying, "Oh, well, if you pay me the big bucks."
Bro, he said that he will only fight AJ if the fight was for free. Like, they gave it away for free. What broadcasting company is ever going to do that? That's basically a duck.
They're not. That's what he's running. To me, that's running. That's, you're ducking him.
But then you're going to say, I want $500 million to fight Usyk straight after. Get out of here, man. This guy is.
You know what he does? He gives out the most ridiculous ultimatums, which he knows aren't going to get accepted, and then he goes, "Well, I tried to make the fight; they didn't make it."
Exactly. Yeah.
You're a coward. You're a coward. Relinquish your belt, then.
Yeah.
Relinquish your belt. Let someone else fight for the belt, and then we'll have them fight Usyk.
But you know what? I think this is what makes a great fighter in a messed up way. Like all of the great fighters were unhinged. Do you know what I mean? I think this is exactly who he is. I don't think he's putting on an act. I think he is like this kind of bipolar.
No, I agree that he's absolutely unhinged.
Yeah.
I think what makes a great fighter is the feeling that no matter who you are, you think you're gonna win.
Yes, and that
like,
Usyk
I'm sure
has
Anthony
that.
Joshua
Usyk
went into Usyk has that 100%. He's got 100%. A killer mentality.
Bro,
I think the thing with Anthony Joshua is he has that as well. Like anyone outside would have saw when the first AJ fight happened, we came onto this podcast and we said, I don't think AJ should bother with the rematch. But 100%. AJ himself believes that he can win, which is why he always goes for the hard fights. The problem I have with Tyson Fury is I don't think he believes he can beat Usyk. I don't think he believes that he can comfortably beat Anthony Joshua. That's why he keeps running away from these fights. So he's mad, but not in a good way. He's mad in like the worst way possible, where he's trying to manipulate his own legacy by just bullshitting his way out of fights that he knows he might not win.
Thing is, though, you know what was frustrating with Fury? He's actually he's an elite fighter. Like you can't deny it. Like
he's disgracing himself.
He's disgracing himself, bro. He doesn't need to do this. Do you know what I mean? Like he's already an elite fighter. In my opinion, he beats AJ. I'll be honest. Like I keep flipping back and forth, but actually, like Fury is so elite. Like if you really deep it, he's gonna have more trouble with AJ.
Here's the thing. He can beat AJ. He can even beat Usyk. I'm not saying he can't.
Yeah.
But the problem is he's not actually willing to go and put it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm tired of waiting for Usyk and Wilder. I'm sorry, Fury and Wilder to make their mind up on who they're going to fight next, only to fight, as you said, tomato cans. Wasting years at a time of everyone's career. And, I don't want to watch a 40-year-old AJ fight Tyson Fury. What's the point of that?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just wasting everyone's time. If you're going to fight, just fight. Stop saying, oh, I'm going to retire. Oh, I'm not going to retire. Oh, I'll only do it if it's for free. Who's that show for? I'm not buying it.
He's doing a Mayweather. Mayweather did that.
Oh, Mayweather is a mastermind when it comes to this shit anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Cherry picking fights at the perfect time.
So anyway, let's hope we see
that got heated. Jesus Christ.
Well, that got heated, but I'll be honest, I'm excited for Usyk Fury. Because this one, 100%. I think Usyk has him, but it's going to be so tight, I can't call it. I think it's actually going to be a very tough fight for both men. Like Fury, for the first time ever, is going to look slow, which is going to surprise a lot of people. Like when they're going to see Fury fight Usyk, they'll be like, wow, this Fury slow down. He didn't slow down, brother. Usyk is just insanely
Usyk is
fast.
Mentally not all there, bruv. I'm going to tell you that much for sure. There's something a little unhinged about my man, which makes him such a good fighter.
You know, when I rewatched the fight, do you know what Usyk was doing in the corner? They weren't saying anything to him. He was just praying.
That sounds
crazy,
like Jordan. That sounds like a Key and Peele sketch, bruv. That is insane. He's like he's like a stereotype of what you would expect a legendary boxer to be like. He's like Bucky Hammer or whatever. You know what I mean? He's got that vibe to him.
But that's crazy, bro. They didn't say a single word to him. He just went back to his corner. They were just cleaning up his face, and he was just praying each round, bro. Do you know how much self-belief you need to do that? Like, this guy is a different level boxer, man. He's a different level boxer. And it's going to be really, really good fight to watch. So hopefully we see that. Hopefully we see AJ match up easily with Wilder. This is definitely going to happen, by the way. Like, there's no way they're going to miss out on this opportunity. So
they need to cash that check in now.
Yeah, man.
I'm not trying to see Usyk, Tyson Fury at 40 either. I'm trying to see that within the next year.
Yeah, within, like, at the end of this. But apparently, according to my sources, they're agreeing to do it for the end of this year.
Well, they're better. I'm trying to see that fight.
But I think
let's get into the new year with a big fight.
Let's do it. January, big fight, boy. And then we finally find out who's the best. Do you know what I mean? Enough of this.
If Usyk wins, he has a heavy claim to being like considered one of the all-time greats. Not just like, oh yeah, he was a great fighter. Like, literally an all-timer, like put him up there with the very, very best.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he already has that, if I'm being honest with you.
I mean, like, he's wiped out the cruiserweight division.
It's not easy to do that. Like,
it's not easy.
Do you know what I mean? It ain't easy. Who's it that done it before? Was it Holyfield? He done something.
Holyfield, yeah.
Holyfield, yeah. He. Wow, my pronunciation of names and stuff today has been
Crazy.
awful.
Holyfield, you know. Was it
Holyfield,
Hollyoaks?
Jesus Christ. You know, I actually watched the Pretty Woman the other day in theatre, like as a play. And a guy from Hollyoaks was on it, and he was actually very talented, to be fair. So, you know, shout out him in it. But
very good side note.
yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to mention that.
Thank you.
It's a good show. Go watch it if you can.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess we gave you the predictions, and I think we're coming up to the end of the episode. So, is it the end of the episode?
Yeah, I think it's the end of the episode. We'll say our goodbyes, and you know we haven't been too consistent with the episode drops, but we're trying. You know,
we're on holiday.
Listen, we're on holiday. We work 9 to 5s. We deserve a break as well. Yeah. You did really download a lot of the Andrew Tate episode that we done last time around, so really appreciate that. Anyone who listened to that episode that liked it, you know, like this one as well, watch this one and let us know what you think. You can catch us on our social media. On Instagram is Verbal Reasoning Podcast. On Twitter is Podcast Verbal. And yeah, just let us know what you think of the podcast.
Safe.